everybody. Welcome to today's Handler Hangout. Happy monstering, everybody. I am Monster Handler Jen, or I guess I should probably say Monster Handler in Training, and I'm going to be hosting today's event. So the way everything's going to work, I'm going to be reviewing the hands up request today. So if you have a question, make sure that you raise your hand. It's the button at the bottom of the screen, and you're going to be added to the list. Once you've asked your question, we will remove you from the stage just to keep things moving along and get as many questions in as we can. We will be recording this AMA and uploading it to our YouTube channel, so just keep that in mind if you are uncomfortable with sharing your voice over the Discord. We probably won't have time to answer everybody's questions, but we're going to do our best to get as many in as possible. So, today not only do we have the wonderful and amazing Monster Handler Matt and Monster Handler Mike, we also have Monster Handler Dia joining us for her very first Handler Hangout. So let's say hello to Dia. Hi, Dia.
Monster Handler Jen, how are you?
Oh, I am very, very excited. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited for today's Handler Hangout.
Awesome. I know I'm excited to learn more about the monsters from Monster Handler Matt and from all of the amazing fans. So without further ado, are you ready to answer some questions, Monster Handler Matt?
You bet I am, Monster Handler Jen. I'm so excited at the opportunity to answer some questions from the community, and also for the community to meet more monster handlers. I'm always excited for people to meet members of the team and to interact with them. So let's get the ball rolling just as quick as we can.
Awesome. Let's get some questions going here. Let's hear from Tree Squid first. Tree Squid, you are invited to the stage.
Why, hello there.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Tree Squid.
You may hear some thunder because it's about to rain. So,
No worries.
all right. So, my question, or it's just basically a question, is firstly, congratulations on 9 years of My Singing Monsters because of anniversary month coming up soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And secondly, how big do you think this anniversary month will be? That's just
That's a
Who
great
knows?
question. That's a great question.
Thank you for your question, Tree Squid. I did not hear any thunder in the background, so I was going to ask you if maybe you were reporting in from Wublin Island or the surrounding environs there. But this anniversary month, obviously anniversary month represents sort of a peak, a pinnacle of each year of My Singing Monsters history. It is the anniversary month of the Year of the Monster. So I would strongly suspect that this one's going to go down in the history books as, if not the best, one of the best for sure. I'm very excited to share all that we have planned in anniversary month. And we're sitting on the eve, the cusp of September.
So close.
Exciting. It's very exciting to do this Handler Hangout so close to what we have planned. So obviously we've still got some tightly wound secrets that we are keeping close to our chests, and we don't want to reveal too much. But of course, with next week being the first week of September, or September sort of rolling over in the middle of next week, I'm sure there's lots of exciting things that we can expect moving forward.
Awesome. Let's hear from Blake at Stake.
Hello, Blake.
Blake, if you're there, you are invited to the stage.
I forgot.
Oh, there
I forgot to press the accept button.
There we go. Hi, Blake.
Okay, I have my question ready. How many monsters were tossed around going to Outer Islands they didn't end up going to? We know that Scups was originally planned for Space Island, so are there any other cases similar to our suction cup compadre?
What an excellently phrased question,
I love
Blake.
that.
Our suction cupped compadre, whom we just featured prominently actually in our Monster Handler drawing exercise that we uploaded to YouTube earlier this week. Yes, obviously, from taking a look at some of the files, people have correctly discerned that where Scups was originally planned to go from an Outer Island standpoint is not where the monster specifically ended up. I know at one point, and I think this was a monster handler Matt stomped moment, but I think in the original advertising for Kongo, I think I mistakenly said that that monster was able to be teleported to an island other than space. There was something weird going on there. I had it wrong. I feel like at one point I said cloud, but I'm sure I just totally made that up, and I and I had that wrong. So for the most part, monsters and their sort of outer island assignments don't shift around all too much. It's I can count on one hand the number of them that have been changed over the course of development, and they're so infrequent that I actually can't list any more for you. I don't have any on hand, but for the most part, when it comes time to assign those monsters, and we sort of touched on this in a previous Handler Hangout, we did our best to try and separate ourselves from the idea that any one monster belongs on any one of the outer islands based on their, elemental configuration. So instead, what we want to do is just have fun, sort of mixing different monster sounds together that normally wouldn't have a chance to interact in the original My Singing Monsters game.
Awesome. Let's hear from Carter MSM. You have been invited to the stage.
Hello, Carter.
Hi, Carter. You're just muted.
We got some Toe Jammer representation here. I love it.
I do love to see it.
You're just still muted, Carter. Maybe we'll come back to
Yes.
Carter next. All right, let's go with Sponge Olimar. You are invited to the stage.
All right, hello everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I just want to say that I really love My Singing Monsters. That helped me out a lot when I was sad. So thank you for making this amazing game. For to make things quick, my question is, what happened to the quad fire monsters that weren't in the Fire Islands? Are just they're hanging out in Fire Heaven, Fire Oasis, or they're just gone? Are they just gone?
That's a great question, Sponge Olimar. You hit the nail on the head. Those fire monsters that we don't necessarily see represented as monsters that you can collect in My Sing Monsters, but that are fire hybrids, like Yelmet, like Flummox, like Tiawa. They are canonically hanging out on the Fire Islands. More so Fire Haven than Fire Oasis, I'd say. Fire Oasis sort of for those fire monsters that like to get a breath of fresh air after such a prolonged period of time just sort of chilling on Fire Haven, waiting to break back to the surface world. But yes, they do still exist. There are no fire monsters that are unaccounted for in the monster world. They all survived the cataclysm that broke apart the continent into the natural islands, and they are all chilling around in the modern contemporary monster era.
All right. Aunt Blau, you have been invited to speak.
Hello, Monster Handlers. Can you hear me good?
Sure can.
Loud and clear.
All right. This might seem like a funny question, but it's actually a serious question. So, if you remember back to MSM Fandemonium, in one of the episodes, Pom Pom called Mammoth's toenails sus. Do you guys remember that?
How could we forget?
So, would you consider Mammoth to be the imposter for My Singing Monsters?
Oh.
You know, Aunt Blau, the shape of Mammoth's torso and its sort of stubby legs there, just how much of the silhouette of Mammoth looks like the imposter is sort of sus in and of itself, in my opinion. Obviously, the two brands are actually unrelated and were developed creatively independently, but it is sort of funny to squint one's eyes and see that if you take a look, they do sort of have a similar silhouette. At a glance, they could be confused for one another.
Awesome. Wahoo, you have been invited to speak. You're just muted there, Wahoo.
You have me on the edge of my seat here. Wahoo.
You'll just have to click that unmute button. All right, maybe we will try to come back to Wahoo's question. All right, what about Turtle? You have been invited to speak, Turtle.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hi.
On the Webox stockpile, there's like a piece of cloth, and it has symbols on it. The description says that the symbols got added there, or they just appeared magically. It has the magical sigil, psychic symbol, and the bone symbol, which are Zeister's elements. Is there a connection between the Webox and Zeister? And even bigger, is there a connection between the Webox and Magical Sanctum?
Turtle, you've done your research on this particular question, I'll tell you that much. So, the Webox stockpile, of course, began its life as a PS Vita exclusive decoration that, thanks to our friends over at Sony, was able to make its way and migrate over to the mobile experience, and then, of course, later to the experience on Steam. And those particular symbols that appear on the Webox stockpile actually appear throughout My Singing Monsters because they date back even before the dawn of the monster world itself, all the way back to the Thumpyverse. Those particular glyphs and runes and sigils and symbols are actually holdovers from the Thumpyverse. And from a behind-the-scenes standpoint, that's because Monster Handler Chris, who we've previously featured on episodes of My Singing Monsters Live, who's an artist who's been working on My Singing Monsters for these many long years now, it was sort of done as an artistic callback to some of the imagery from the Thumpyverse. And of course, we later sort of co-opted those symbols to become some of the symbols of the new magical elements that were cropping up in the monster world. We thought that was a fun opportunity to sort of canonize them into the world of My Singing Monsters itself, but also to sort of connect to the idea that the magical monsters are newcomers to the monster world, and therefore we're sort of seeking a sense of belonging, and therefore sort of looked around at exist. You know what? I like the looks of that symbol. I am going to use it to rep my class or my element, sort of thing. So there's multiple, both behind the scenes and in story levels to the icons that appear on the Webox stockpile. To just end out that question about could there be a relationship between Zister and Webox, or is there a relationship between Webox and Magical Sanctum? Obviously, we know that Webox can populate the pocket dimension in which both Ethereal Island and Magical Sanctum reside. So maybe there is some sort of deeper connection there, but that hasn't been explored much by us monster handlers to date.
Awesome. Wahoo was just having some technical difficulties, but their question was, when will we ever see a brand new epic ethereal?
Ooh.
A brand new epic ethereal. I can't believe that people are still asking for this. Wasn't Epic Ghast good enough? Was it one enough? No, of course we know that the demand for more epic ethereals is high. You know, there was a question earlier about anniversary month and how exciting it was going to be, and that's all I'll say. That's all.
All right, Matthew the Bogart, I apologize. You have been invited to the stage.
Hello, Matthew.
Hi, hello. Okay. All right, so, hello again, like I said. My is, with MSM Playground releasing later this year in November, could this open up to more opportunities with more Amazon spin-off games, like a platformer, or kart race, or anything like that, perhaps?
Those are some excellent questions, Matthew the Bogart. We never say no to anything. We're very excited for My Singing Monsters Playground to get in the hands of fans such as yourself so that you can experience all that there is that's offered in that game. We're really excited for people to play it. And yeah, I would say that the sky's the limit in terms of what sort of future adventures the monsters could get up to. I wouldn't say no to literally anything. So the possibilities are endless.
All right, Scuplin, you have been invited to speak. Hi there.
Hi.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello. Hey.
What was your question?
Is Webox coming to the Fire Islands anytime soon?
Great question, Scuplin. The question was, is the Webox coming to the Fire Islands anytime soon? I think what's interesting about the Fire Islands is that, of course, Fire Haven is such an ancient place. It's such an ancient refuge connected all the way back to the dawn of fire. It's been sort of chilling, doing its own thing there inside the living core of the former continent. And Fire Oasis is so new. It, was constructed, in recent memory as a place for the fire monsters to reside on the surface. I think specifically what we know about Webox and its creation on behalf of the perhaps too creative for its own good Celestial Galvana, would appear to inform us that if it were ever to go to the Fire Islands, it may not come about in the same way, at least from a story perspective. Obviously, if Webox were to be added to the Fire Islands, you would, buy it from the market, and you would need to incubate it, and you would need to box the relevant monsters inside it at some point, but just the very nature of the fact that the Webox were contained inside these immense vaults inside the natural islands, and of course also of Ethereal Island, we don't really think that that's the case in terms of the interior structure of the colossal presence that is shared between Fire Haven and Fire Oasis. So if Webox were ever to be added, I think it would sort of be a visitor to those islands rather than a native that sprang forth from its deep cavernous recesses.
All right, Zesty at best, you are on the stage.
Cow. Oh, is it loaded?
Hello, Zesty.
Howdy. Oh my god. I can't believe I just said howdy in front of everybody.
We say howdy all the time, Zesty at best. I love your profile picture, by the way. I've loved everybody's profile pictures today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, everyone's got some really creative profile pictures. But my question was, how do the creatures breathe underwater on Water Island? Because, I mean, as far as I can tell, Noggin doesn't have gills. Maybe, I don't know. But I've always wondered that.
Great question, Zesty at best. I would return your question with a question, which is, how do we know that monsters process oxygen in order to breathe? Secondarily, how do we know that the contents of the living ocean is even H2O to begin with? Now, I know that on some episodes of My Singing Monsters Live, I have been swigging from my bottle of what I claimed to be water from the living ocean, but that is after it had been desalinated because it is salty, it is an ocean, and after it had sort of undergone a trans-dimensional transmutation. So who knows if it just sort of converted into regular human world water when it sort of crossed the threshold into our world. But I think that we've previously alluded to the fact that monsters have no problem breathing underwater in the specific sort of table of elements, kooky table of elements of the monster world itself.
Har 239, you are invited to speak.
Har.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so
My question was about the pocket dimension. I was wondering about like how big it might be because we know it holds at least two islands, which are very sizable, and one of them was even undiscovered for so long. So people living on Ethereal Island wouldn't even know about it because of how big the pocket dimension is. And also on Ethereal Island, we can see stars in the sky, and I don't know if these stars are like the same that we have in the human world, which are very big and extremely far apart, or if they're different, or maybe we're seeing stars that are in the normal monster world from the ethereal pocket dimension.
I love that question.
Yes, another excellent question. You guys are asking some excellent questions today. The pocket dimension, I would say it's important to consider it not necessarily in terms of physical space, but it's almost like metaphysical space in the sense that it can sort of occupy as much or as little space as it needs to at any given moment, just to make sure that all of the monsters are comfortable on there and that the Colossal of Ethereal Island and, of course, the Enchantler Titan of Magical Sanctum have enough room to operate and they never have to worry about running into each other or colliding or encroaching on each other's space, sort of thing. So I think everything to do with the idea of the pocket dimension sort of breaks our understanding of physical spaces in the first place. With respect to the stars in the sky, definitely an interesting theory that it might be a reflection of the stars seen in the main dimension of the monster world. It could be that they are also sort of only pseudo stars that sort of represent what a night sky might look like to whoever it was that created the pocket dimension in the first place. I don't know if we've ever actually explored whether the pocket dimension was a natural occurrence or whether it was created specifically for any specific purpose. That may be something that we learn a little bit more about in Anniversary Month. Maybe.
All right, Carter, MSM, we're going to invite you back up to speak. I know that we had some issue last time, so you are invited to the stage. Carter, MSM, you are invited to the stage. There we go. Hi, Carter.
Hello. I had a question about the seasonals. Where do the seasonals like Hula and Gobbledygord go once the seasonal event's over? Like, do they go to a special island or does Hula just sail forever?
I've always wondered this myself as well.
Yeah, great question, Carter. This is definitely one of the enduring mysteries of the monster world. We know that for the most part, the seasonal monsters are migratory. They have no fixed abode. They like to obviously celebrate their respective seasonal events with the rest of the monsters on their corresponding islands. But then when that seasonal event ends, they depart and they're not heard from, for a good part of the rest of the year. There are, of course, opportunities like out-of-season promotions where the monsters do a quick pop-in just to say hi because they've been away from the island for so long. But in terms of where they go, obviously Hula is an excellent boats monster who is excellent at navigating in its sailboat craft. But yeah, you would expect at some point that monster has to dock somewhere. It has to sort of, have some rest on dry land or something at some point. So the monster world is vast, and there's lots of areas that we don't necessarily know about yet. So maybe that's something that could be explored in a future update. Obviously, the fire monsters, once they were comfortably settled on Fire Oasis, set out to explore those pockets of the monster world that hadn't been heard from in a while, and of course happened upon what later were identified as the Magical Islands. Fire Frontier, of course, was actually Psychic Island, Fairy Island, Bone Island, Light Island. Those islands were all just sort of, I guess, chilling there since the era of the Dawn of Fire, but only recently have crept back into the cultural consciousness of the monster world. So who knows what might else be out there. I'm excited to learn more.
All right, Rebecca the Rebogart, you have been invited to speak.
Hi again.
Hello.
My question. Okay, so here's a question I kind of thought about. It has something to do with the seasonals. We all know about six magical, the six seasonals, and I was wondering, will there be any seasonals on the magical islands?
A great question, Rebecca the Rebegart. Will there be seasonals on the magical islands? Yes, those islands are sort of conspicuously underpopulated by seasonals. Obviously, the seasonals have a strong presence on the natural and fire islands through familiar characters like you mentioned, and of course the most recently added Gobblegourd sort of rounds things out. But with respect to what sort of present seasonals might have on the magical islands, we're not really sure. That would be an interesting opportunity wouldn't it? Again, something else that we'll have to keep in mind for the future.
All right. X Party Hat, you have been invited to speak. X Party Hat, you are invited to the stage.
Come on down. There we are.
You
Hello.
just have to unmute yourself.
Oh no.
All right, maybe we'll come back to Party Hat. Let's go with Leo. You have been invited to speak.
Hello, Leo.
On up, Leo.
Don't worry, we don't bite, only Epic Mob bites.
All right, maybe we will try somebody else. What about James? You have been invited to speak.
Hello.
Hello, James.
Hello.
I've recently gotten back into the game about a month ago, and I'm just blown away by Magical Sanctum. It's easily the best song in the game. Great work, you guys. But I was wondering what the thought process behind Magical Sanctum was. Musically, that is. Was there any reason for using more exotic instruments, putting the song in a minor key, making sure all the musical dynamics worked?
Can I ask James a question? Oh shoot! I'd like to ask
I'll put him
James
back
a question
in. I'll put him back in.
after we answer this, Matt.
Okay.
Well, James, great to have you back. I know you mentioned that you'd come back to the game recently. That's very exciting. It's always great to welcome back players who have been with us throughout our almost 9-year history. Yes, we're quite fond of Magical Sanctum ourselves. It may be of some interest to the community to know that the composer of Magical Sanctum is also the same monster handler who was responsible for bringing us Platy. And if you know your My Singing Monsters live history, you can put 2 and 2 together as to who it was. Obviously, that particular monster handler isn't here on the Handler Hangout today, and I don't want to necessarily speak to their creative process too much because obviously, they are definitely an artist in their own right, and took a long time. But I think one of the guiding principles that was given to that particular monster handler when it came time to compose Magical Sanctum was definitely to try and make it sound unlike any of the other islands that had come before it, while still preserving, of course, its inherent My Singing Monsters-ness. So it's always a challenge for us to try and explore, sounds that we haven't tackled before or using instruments that we haven't used before. So I think that was done to great effect on Magical Sanctum, and it was very exciting for us to reveal bit by bit the entire song, culminating, of course, with the reveal of Enchantling, the quad element boss there at the end that shares the close connection with the Enchantler Titan. It was very exciting for us to experience the unveiling of all that content with the community. Very, very rewarding, very satisfying. I just wanted to take this opportunity at around the roughly halfway mark of this Handler Hangout to make sure that if anyone had any questions for Monster Handler in Training, Jen, or Monster Handler in Training, Dia, specifically about what their experiences are like working as a Monster Handler at Big Blue Bubble, would love to hear from them as well.
Mike, would you like to ask a question to James?
Yes, my question for James is, as you alluded to there as well, Matt, you said that James had said that he had just recently come back. I was just interested, because we don't often get this opportunity to hear from people who had played the game and come back. What brought you back to the game? That's what I was interested in.
Well, I definitely had interest, watching videos about the magical islands. And I never heard their songs before, so it was really interesting to me to see those new islands, those new elements, and to just get back into the game and just hear those amazing songs again. And like I said, just great work, you guys, on Magical Sanctum.
Excellent, thank you. I always am just interested to hear how people find their way back. So,
excellent. I did get a question from Party Hat, who wanted to know what the future plans are for Dawn of Fire.
Great question.
Great question. Obviously, we did release an update recently. That was update 2.7.1, which did add some additional Outer Island hotel upgrades because the Prism Gate shows no signs of stopping. There are lots of prismatics still left to be discovered, and there may or may not be more than a few coming in Anniversary Month. So I would definitely make sure that you take advantage of those upgrades to those hotels, because there's more to be discovered. With respect to long-term plans for Dawn of Fire, obviously, this being the year of the monster, we've been doing our best to try and balance the resources at Big Blue Bubble in a way to make sure that everybody has an excellent and exciting and fulfilling year of the monster. We have been spending obviously a lot of time working on My Singing Monsters the board game, My Singing Monsters Fandemonium, My Singing Monsters Playground. So obviously it's been a very busy year for all of us monster handlers, but we do have plans in the future to answer some of the unanswered questions about Dawn of Fire and potentially add in some of the features that have been planned for a really long time, but that obviously with the monster handlers being pulled in so many different directions, I would say that patience is a virtue.
Wonderful. All right, Zofu, you have been invited to speak.
Hello, Zofu.
You're just muted, Zofu.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey. My question is, will Composer Island ever get any more updates or monsters?
A great question. Composer Island itself is likely to remain as is in the core game of My Singing Monsters. There are, of course, new sounds and new monsters to discover in the standalone My Singing Monsters Composer app, and I know that the community is very keen on there being a certain number of monsters added to that particular game, especially because some of their we'll call it composer support is already ready to go. But of course, there is one conspicuous absence among those monsters in terms of whether that support is ready to go. So once again, I would say that patience is a virtue with respect to maybe updates for My Singing Monsters Composer in the future. Composer Island itself, I think it's safe to call it done. It's in its complete state that it's going to appear in My Singing Monsters. But for those of you who are not yet in possession of My Singing Monsters Composer, Anniversary Month is around the corner, and I would keep a close eye on that as well. Word to the wise.
Thank you. All right, we have Power T Queen invited to speak.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hello.
Well, I've had this thought on my mind for months, and it might be a strange question, but have you guys ever seen a bellow fish without its armor on? And if so, could you describe its appearance?
Great question, Power T Queen. Yes, the ethereals are among the most mysterious monsters known to us. Of course, that sort of mech exosuit that the bellowfish wears sort of disguises what the actual anatomy of that monster really is. Of course, we can see that it has organic feet sort of sticking out from the bottom of it, but between that sort of barrel-shaped contraption that serves as its torso and, of course, its mechanized accordion hands, it's really hard to say what the monster looks like without those on. It's not often that us monster handlers get a chance to actually witness what the shape of that monster looks like without them on. We do know that they are native to the aqua slime pools of Ethereal Island, so perhaps further investigations, maybe we'll have to set up camp outside one of those aqua slime pools. Maybe we'll have to get one of those blinds that bird watchers use so that they don't disturb the local flora and fauna. Maybe that would be a good job for Monster Handler Eric, since he couldn't be a part of today's Handler Hangout. We could just set him up beside the aqua slime pool, maybe for a couple of months, and then we'll see what his report is back to us.
All right, the Monster Explorers, you are invited to the stage.
Hello, I have a bit of an odd question. May Matt answer the next question in his Australian accent?
I'm sure you can do that, Matt.
Yes, I can try. I hope I don't offend anyone. All right, let's hear another question, please.
All right, how about the Real Mixmaster? You have been invited to speak. Real Mixmaster.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you.
All right, perfect. I've had this question on my mind for like a really long time. You know how regular rares and costs usually have the same actions? Like really mesmerized by it. I just wanted to know, like, what was the inspiration behind it?
Real Mixmaster, you sounded like Rare Webox there yourself for a bit. I don't know if anyone else could hear that. Would you mind, Monster and the Gen, would you mind inviting Real Mixmaster back up to the stage so we can hear the question one more time?
Let me just find...
That wasn't in an Australian accent, Matt.
That's because I have not started to answer the question, Monster Handler Mike.
Mixmaster, if you could just raise your hand for me again, that will be super helpful. There we go. You have been re-invited. I think. Maybe. This work. Maybe Real Mixmaster can send the question direct message to me. Oh, there we go. Now it's going to invite to speak. Perfect. I've been invited back to speak. There we go.
All right, sorry about that. I was talking to myself for a bit.
Oh, you sound crystal clear now.
All right, sweet. So originally I wanted to know, like, what was the inspiration behind creating the rare Webox? Because for like a long time, it was like crazy to me to just see like a rare monster or another monster like have a new animation or sound and stuff like that.
Perfect.
Yes, all right. I apologise in advance for this butchery of an Australian accent. So once again, apologise in advance. With respect to the rare Webox, I think it was important for us because it was going to be such a big undertaking. An undertaking down under. Nah, it's terrible. Oh my goodness. I think it was important for us to make sure that it truly felt special because it was going to require so much time and investment on the part of the community, boxing all those rare monsters inside it. So I think it was important to make sure that we pulled out all the stops for it and made sure that it was special.
That was an incredible accent. Thank you.
And I'm done. Please, oh my goodness, Monster Explorers, don't ever make me do that again. I hope all of the Australian fans of My Singing Monsters don't disown me now. I tried my best.
I think you did a good job.
I think it was great. Let's hear from Toe Jammer. You've been invited to the stage.
Wait, did I actually get accepted?
You're here.
You did. Let's hear your question.
Hello.
Toe Jammer.
I actually have 2 questions, both related to Toe Jammer.
All right, let's hear them. Rapid fire.
Toe Jammer's age and favorite food. What is it?
Toe Jammer's age and favorite food. Well, Toe Jammer is at least as old as the creation of the continent back during the era of Dawn of Fire, it being one of the foundational monsters, it being, you know, sort of the manifestation of the water element. With respect to its favorite foods, it's any food that is safely water soluble. That perhaps might not come as any sort of surprise to you. So anything that comfortably melts in water. Now, of course, the consistency of Toe Jammer itself sort of has a rubbery texture, like an outer membrane, to make sure that its liquidy interior sort of stays inside. But once it is able to consume any of the treats through its mouth, that treat just sort of gets dissolved in its gooey, liquidy innards. So obviously ice cream is a big favorite. That sort of gels really well with its insides. And cotton candy is another one too. I don't know if you've ever seen that little video of the raccoon that is trying to wash the cotton candy and it goes into the water. It's very sad, but it's sort of that situation.
All right, let's hear from Star next. You've been invited to the stage.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Star.
You can. Hello.
Hello. So, first of all, I want to say to TME, I will make you pay for making Matt speak bad Australian. Is my brother, and he will pay for this. Anyways, what I wanted to say is that a lot of the members in this community, they have said that, well, actually, no, they've been pondering over the mystery of this new island, possibly, new island, bah, in Anniversary Month, could possibly reveal. But a lot of people mostly think that it could be maybe how the continent split apart and possibly who caused it to split apart. And if it may or may not be that, do you have any clues to point us toward the right direction? Possibly. I'm saying possibly too much.
No. Well, I can give you some possible answers there, Star. Obviously, without spoiling anything or without revealing anything to anybody else, I had previously mentioned that the next island in My Singing Monsters was going to possibly answer a very old question, an enduring mystery of the monster world. I can sort of refute the claim that it does have any specific connection to how the continent broke apart. That's perhaps a story for another time. But I will say that the clues about what is going to be involved in the next island added to My Singing Monsters were hiding in plain sight in the Summer Song 2021 DJ Epic World Tour remix video. So I'll let the community know on that. There's only a few more days to think about it, but the clues were hiding in plain sight. That's all I'll say.
All right, Floppa, we are ready to hear from you.
Hello, my question is, will we see rare and or epic Wublins anytime soon? And why do we have to unlock dipsters with keys?
A two-parter question. Will we be seeing variants of Wublins anytime soon? It depends on what you mean by soon, doesn't it? Perhaps sometime in the next 9 years? Maybe. No, I'm kidding. Yes, it's an interesting idea. The nature of Weblins themselves having been statues brought to life by the spark of life and being sort of engineered by the Webox as an extension of an electrical supernatural family mean that they don't necessarily lend themselves super well to having rare or epic forms because they're sort of ready made. It's like a creator taking a piece of clay and just sort of saying, okay, there it is. So and we know that Rare Webox doesn't necessarily share the same creator instincts as its common cousin. Its interests lie mostly with travel, interdimensional travel specifically. But that's not to say that Rare and Epic Weblins could not come about one day. I would be curious to know if perhaps rather than them being distinct monsters, that maybe they represent sort of upgraded forms of the common form that already exists. So that would obviously be quite a bit different than our current understanding of the relationship between commons and rares and epics if these Weblins could instead be sort of upgraded or per se evolved into a more advanced rare or epic form. That would definitely be interesting, sort of a fast-tracked evolution or something. Some interesting ideas. And then the second question was, why are dipsters unlocked with keys? Well, that's because those keys fit in the tiny little dipster doors that exist inside their burrows. I think there's some social media imagery that we've released in the past that depict these dipster burrows and the cute little doors that exist as privacy for their furnishings.
All right. Blue Poles, you have been invited to speak.
Hello.
Hello.
Blue Poles.
Okay, so how exactly do things like ecology and evolution work in the monster world? Because, like, we know from, like, the existence of rares and epics and also certain monsters like Blabbit that evolution does happen, but, like, how? Because usually the way it works is that genes are sometimes randomly mutated, and if those mutations are good and bad, then they help an organism survive more in its environment. But since, like, judging by Space Island's description, monsters don't really seem to have the same environmental pressures as Earth's organisms do, what would exactly cause them to evolve? And, like, considering other bios like Epic Reedling, it seems like monsters might just evolve because they feel like it, which I'm not entirely sure how that works, but also, since monsters don't seem to, monsters only seem to eat treats, like, are there any kind of, like, ecological niches that they fill, since there isn't really a food web per se? Like, I'm just curious as to how all that works, because I like ecology and stuff.
Blue Pulse, what an amazing, enlightening question. And I also share your interest in ecology and different food niches that different organisms occupy in their particular ecosystems. What's curious about the monster world is that not all of the rules of the human world always necessarily apply. That's why monster handling is its own unique discipline that requires all sorts of specific focus on what's the same and what's different in the monster world. I think you sort of hit the nail on the head that with respect to what can be called evolution between the different forms of monsters, sometimes it comes down to a monster just having the willpower to change. And that sort of like fast-tracked spontaneous evolution is obviously the sort of thing that only happens in science fiction here in the human world. Obviously, the teachings of Dr. Warden E. Spurritt were integral to our initial understanding of what sort of environmental pressures might influence a monster to evolve or to generate its rare or epic forms. But there's still obviously so much left to understand and to learn about how the monster world differs from the human world. And with respect to treats, we already know that the metabolism of monsters is very different in that they are able to extract nutrition from these traditionally junk foods here in the human world, with the notable exception of course, the big salad, which is so healthy that it has become unhealthy and therefore healthy for the monsters. So you're right that there's still so much left to understand, and I would love to hear any sort of theories or ideas about how the metabolism and the ecology of the monsters and of their world work, because it's still largely a mystery to us monster handlers. You know, the community's guesses are as good as ours, I'd say.
Wonderful. I was hoping I could ask a question to Monster Handler Dia, since we haven't really heard from her a lot.
Oh,
So,
of course. Ask away, I'm Monster Handler Jen.
Monster Handler Dia, we know that you were one of the masterminds behind the Scuphead parody that everyone loves so much on Instagram. I was wondering what the process behind all that is.
The process behind the Scuphead work? That is an excellent question. So yeah, I do a lot of illustration for the social content for My Singing Monsters. So the Scuphead post, yeah, I drew that. As far as the process, I took a lot of references looking at original Cuphead game art. I also love the game myself. So yeah, I'm familiar with looking at the style, and I took influences from the original style, and I can see in the chat that people are spamming the Scuphead art. So yeah, it's just a lot of working through it really slowly and paying attention to the little details.
And just being very talented as well.
Yes.
Thank you, Monster Handler Mike and Monster Handler Jen.
All right, let's turn it back to our wonderful audience. Abby, you have been invited to speak.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, I was mainly wondering what happened to all the other islands in Dawn of Fire.
Ooh.
Like,
A great question, Abby. What became of the other islands in Dawn of Fire that are no longer around in the contemporary monster world? We do know that around the same time that the continent broke apart into the natural islands and the colossal spirits of creation swept in to sort of save the day and imbue their life force into those, the different elemental lands of the continent, and turn them into the natural islands. We know that around the same time the outer islands blipped out of existence. And we suspect, but have not been able to confirm, that potentially the Prism Gate had something to do with these swallowing up and disappearance of those outer islands. But what's sort of neat is that each of those outer islands has a counterpart in the modern monster world in the magical islands. That is to say that the Krovlaft Titan of Psychic Island took up residence where Space Island used to be. The Facade Titan is around in the swirling mists and vapors of the former Cloud Island. Bone Island is deep, deep, deep underground where Cave Island used to be. That's where the Necrol Titan set up shop. And the Phosphora Titan of Light Island is a migratory titan that follows the Aurora Monstralis around the world, not unlike the way the Party Island, outer island of Dawn of Fire, is situated on top of the Glub Pole, the large Leviathan-like creature that swims around the living ocean. And of course, Starhenge fell out of the sky a few years ago and later went on to form Celestial Island. So some very interesting ways that the islands of Dawn of Fire have evolved over
All right, everyone. It seems like we're experiencing some technical difficulties.
I think I'm back.
Hello,
Yes.
Monster Handler.
I am so sorry, everybody.
It's all good. It's all good.
I believe we have time for another question. Let's hear from Leo again. I know that Leo tried to come up to the stage before, so let's invite Leo.
Hello.
Hi, Leo.
Hello. Hello. I have a question about dipsters.
Ask away.
How do they get out of Earth? Like with air or electronics?
Interesting.
That they are, fairly commonplace monsters nowadays. That wasn't always the case, and they're still a very secretive bunch. The specifics of how they live and how they work are still sort of a mystery to us. So how they sort of form homes and tunnel into the various islands is still a subject of ongoing monster handler research.
All right. Think we have time for one more question in this AMA. Let's hear from Scaly. You've been invited to speak.
Hi, Scaly.
Hello. Okay, my
What's your question? Perfect.
About the epic seasonals.
Go ahead, Scaly.
Wait.
You're all good, Scaly. Your question was about the epic seasonals. Yep.
Wait. What was the purpose of them being animatedly different? Wait. What was the purpose of them being animated different?
Perfect.
Great question, Scaly. Yes, unique among the rare and epic cousins. Well, okay. Perhaps unique among epics, because we know that we just finished talking about how rare Webox was different. Yes, unique among epics, the seasonal monsters have distinct animations from their rare and common cousins. This is something that we decided to do as monster handlers of Big Blue Bubble in order to celebrate the fact that these monsters are, they represent sort of the peak, the height, the zenith of their respective seasonal events. So once again, we wanted to make sure that the community knew how special we thought that they were by giving them these unique animations. Also, it gave us an opportunity to sort of, stretch some animation stretch some animation muscles and have an opportunity to lend even more personality to these monsters, because I know, for example, that the unique animation of Epic Hula on Gold Island is much beloved, where the monster accidentally drops its beloved hoop, and there's all sorts of fun things that are explored, different elements of the monster's personality that come through in the animation. So we just wanted to give players an opportunity to see even more of some of their favorite monsters.
Yes. So thank you, everyone, for all of your questions today. It was another great Handler Hangout here with you today. I am very much looking forward to the next one of these that we do, as I'm sure there will be a lot of things that we'll be able to further discuss. when this next one happens. Wouldn't you agree, Matt?
I certainly would agree. I feel like people are going to be, well, I don't want to speak for the community, of course, but I think that they're going to be pretty pleased with what we have to offer in Anniversary Month.
Excellent. So without further ado, I want to say thank you to Monster Handler Jen and Monster Handler Dia and Monster Handler Matt for joining us here today. It was great getting to talk to all of you. And with that, we will depart as we always do by saying, Happy Monster!
See you in Anniversary Month, everybody. Bye-bye.